Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video is basically a continuation of the previous video that I posted, which is me trying out all the rare beauty products that I bought, which was the foundation, the highlighter, the blushes, the brushes, and the lipsticks. So this video is just me swatching all the lipstick shades that I bought, and this is basically 9 out of 12 shades that are available. So without further ado, let's get started. So a little bit about these lipsticks. So these retail for $20 and you get around 0.13 fluid ounce of product. And well, I have already raved about this in my previous video, but if you haven't checked that, I do want to talk about these lipsticks a little bit. So they are amazing. I am a big fan of these lipsticks. They are buttery, soft, and I feel like they are a liquid version of the Lisa Eldridge lipsticks. They feel very, very velvety on the lips, and they are weightless, and you don't feel like you're wearing any lipstick at all. So that's how great this product is, and that's the reason why I ended up buying so many shades. So the first one I have is Courage, and this shade I have worn in my previous video as well, but we're going to put this on now. It's a very nice muted nude shade, and swatching it on my arm. That's how it looks. Now I do want to compare it with some nude lipsticks that I have, and of course there are so many nude lipsticks. I am thinking I'm gonna compare it with the Lisa Eldridge Velvet Fawn shade because I feel like it's pretty comparable in terms of texture and the feel of it. I've wiped off this side, and this is the Velvet Fawn. They are basically exactly the same shade. And this side feels a little bit more creamy than the Lisa Eldridge shade. Yeah. The next shade is this bronzy coral shade, and it's called Brave. It's like a nudie pumpkin shade. Swatching it on my arm. So that's Brave. Such a nice shade. I don't think I have anything comparable with this shade because it's very orange but very muted. I think it's a very unique shade. I'm loving this. So the next shade I have is the red shade, and it's called Inspire. So it's not exactly a true red, but it's a little bit of a neon-y red. That's so interesting. Swatching it on my arm. It's such a nice, wearable, muted, yet neon-y red shade. So that's Inspire. Now to compare this red shade, I honestly couldn't find a better shade than Nude Stick Stiletto because I think this is the only red shade that tends towards neonness. So I'll just apply this somewhere here and show you. But I think this red shade is pretty unique, and so I don't think I have anything comparable. I think this one comes close. But this one again is blue, and this has yellow undertones or orangish undertones. Yeah. This is much more brighter because it's more orangey red, if you will. So the next shade I have is this deep red shade, and it's called Transform. And I feel like I'm gonna have some comparable shades for this one. So let's first try this on. I think this one you need lip liners, of course, but even otherwise, I think it's pretty wearable. Like, you can build it up. It's not that dark. Wow. Oh, I love this shade. It's so wearable, but a dark shade. Like, otherwise, sometimes, you know, these dark shades are so dark that they almost look too much on the face. And at least me, I tend to stay away from them most of the time, only on special occasions. Anyway, so this is how transform swatches. And if you notice, when you apply this first, it looks dark. Like, let me take a little bit more. So like something like this, and then when you blend it, it just becomes smooth and light, and it's not patchy at all. So that's amazing. So to compare this shade, I mean, I look so funny, but to compare this shade, I have the Lisa Eldridge Velvet Jazz shade, which I think might be comparable. Let's see. So yeah, that I think it's pretty similar, almost. So let's try this on. So Lisa Eldridge is still darker and it's more blue, and this is a little bit more towards the neutral warm side. They both feel amazing, by the way. You can't tell the difference which one's what. That's how smooth this is. That's how they compared. So this is pretty red. I think Velvet Jazz is much more maroon. Yeah, this is still red. Yeah. So the next shade I have is this pink shade, and it's called Ascend. Let me swatch this first. So it's this very nice fuchsia kind of pink shade. Ooh, again, I think this is a pretty neon shade. And very wearable. I love how they seem that they're going to be dark, but they actually blend out to be super smooth and wearable. I want to call this like a nude version of a fuchsia shade. The next shade I have is a darker pink, and it's called Heroic. This is how it swatches. So you can kind of see that this one's lighter and more neon, and this one's a little bit more towards the berry side, if you will. Again, you just apply one layer and look how pretty this looks. Just a little bit of a tint on the lip, and then you can just build it. Oh, I love this shade. So that's Heroic. Now to compare this shade, I have the Lisa Eldridge Velvet Jazz shade, I think. And this is how it compares. So I think Velvet Jazz is kind of in between these two shades, and probably more towards the Ascend pink than the Heroic shade. Now I want to compare Ascend and Heroic together on my lip. So let me wipe this off and apply Ascend here. So this side I have Heroic, and this is Ascend. And that's how they compare. The next shade is an even more dark vampy shade, and it's called Strengthen. And this is how it swatches. Ooh. I think this is going to be perfect for fall. Love this. Applying this on my lips. Again, I love how they just soften the lips and they don't look overwhelming. So I do have a little bit of dryness on the lip here, so that's why it's a little bit darker in the middle. But this lipstick is not patchy at all. And I think this is such a lovely shade. So that's Strengthen. So to compare this lipstick, I feel like the YSL number 5 might be comparable. So let's swatch it. I just was trying it on. It seems like it's a pretty comparable shade, but you can tell that this is like a sort of a tint on the lip, whereas this one is more like a deep lipstick. So I'll just clean this side up and show you guys. So yeah, that's how they compare. I feel like the shade is very similar, but because this is so rich, the YSL ones, that it looks much darker. Yeah, that's how they compare. So my lips are getting pretty dark, but I still have 2 more shades. So the next one I have is Fearless, and I honestly don't know what this shade is. Is it dark? Is it light? I have no idea. So I'm just going to swatch it here just in case it is comparable. So it's definitely not a very dark shade. It's definitely on the nude side. Ooh, this is a nice one. So Courage was light. I think this is much relatively darker, but still a nude shade. And I feel like this is a little bit warmer. So that's Fearless. It's such a pretty shade, right? So the last shade I have is Thrilling, and it's a pretty dark brown shade. And see how it fades away. So even though it's dark, it's not that dark. Oh, this is actually the perfect shade for fall. This is like a warm, dark brown. It's got a little bit of mustardiness underneath. Interesting. I don't think I have anything comparable to this one. So that's Thrilling. So these were all the Rare Beauty liquid lipsticks that I own and their respective swatches. And honestly, I love them all. They are just amazing. They are so creamy and buttery and velvety and smooth that I am just in love. And the shades, they are so interesting. I don't think you'll find these shades in other brands. They are pretty unique, and I especially like the fact that you know, when you apply these darker shades, they apply like a tint and then you can just build it on. So I absolutely love that about these lipsticks. And one thing is that they do transfer. So this shade, for example, so it does transfer, but not as much. I have applied a bit the other shades yesterday, and the darker shades, so they transfer a little bit more than this particular shade. So they do transfer, but not as much. And I feel like when you're eating, you might lose the shade because they're so creamy. They're not like those drying liquid lipsticks. So you might lose the shade, but what I've noticed is that the darker shades especially, they will be on the outer part of the lip. And as you press your lip and, you know, try to bring the shade towards the center, it'll come back. So, and it obviously it'll look lighter, but it still comes back. So that actually helps, and so I really like that about these lipsticks. So yeah, do let me know which shades you liked the most and which ones were, you know, something you would like to pick up. And I know that I couldn't really compare all these shades with the other lipsticks that I own because, you know, there's so many of them, so I couldn't do that. But definitely DM me on Instagram, and I would be happy to, give pictures of any specific swatches that you might be looking for or comparisons. So I would be happy to do that. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was fun, and I hope you subscribe to my channel. And until the next time we meet, bye.